Horrible. Hey, you guys, welcome to the special event that we had today. We're running a little bit behind time. That's because we're having a lot of technical difficulties. I'm Donovan Sadiq, the recovering Democrat. You guys know me from the war zone with the five-star general, Gerry Monroe, and he's running for Houston School Board. And we are here to do a quick, monthly fundraiser. But as I told you guys before, and I continue to tell you, you don't have to wait just one time to do a donation. You could do it, Cash App, hit the app. You could do it anytime. I mean, every little bit counts. Like the pastors, we like the kind that folds, not the kind that rolls. But if that's all you got, well, we can't complain about that. We also want to introduce school board candidate Stephanie Brown, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And she's running in a different area other than the Houston board where Gerry Monroe is running. And Demetra K, she'll be along in a little bit. It is Saturday, so we got a lot of stuff to get to. And before we get started, let's talk to the five-star and see what's going on actually up there in Minnesota. And we'll take it from there, and then we'll get into some of these hard-hit questions that I think you guys should be asking these candidates in regards to the welfare and education of our children. If you have children in the school districts, and if you don't, like myself, all my kids are grown. Hey, I'm still paying taxes. So I want to know what these two candidates that we have particular on this show is going to do in regards to bettering the education system that we have and maximizing the taxes that I pay in regards to supporting these school systems. So, five-star, what's happening up there in Minnesota real quick? Just give us the lowdown. We've got the verdict that everybody wanted. Have they started taking down the barriers, and has the police gone back? Have they holstered their guns? What's happening up there in Minnesota?
It's about the same old thing in Minnesota, man. The verdict. In the meantime, you still have people protesting different sides of town. Right now, I'm actually in the car at a protest for Adam Toledo. So, you guys, you're gonna have to work with us today. That the sound is, we're gonna make it through. The devil is a lie. We're gonna make it through today. There's much going on right now. We're in the middle of a protest.
Well, that is cool. That is good. God is good. And like I said, when people are out there doing what they can do, the devil is on the rampage, as we know. But again, you guys, welcome to a special edition of the War Zone. I'm Donovan Sadiq, the recovering Democrat. I'm with the five-star general, Gerry Monroe. As you guys know, he's running for school board in Houston. And we also have, if you guys don't know who this lady is, she has done a lot of work behind the scenes, and her work speaks for itself. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself for those of us that don't know who she is. And she's running for school board as well. As her name is Miss Stephanie Brown. She's got her paraphernalia on. She's got her shirt on. She's doing it up. And, it's just funny that, we talk about like all the mothers out there, and we talk about how men, and I'm just going to speak from, my understanding of it, how men are messing things up. And we know there are more women than there are men in the world and in the workforce and all these other things. But yet we can't seem to get quality women to support quality women in these systems, because they figure, well, my kids are grown and I don't have to do anything anymore. And that's not my interest. But it takes a village. And again, the woman is the backbone of the village. So, Miss Brown, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and just introduce yourself out there? And we're going to get all this stuff cracking.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Stephanie Brown, and like he said, I'm running for Fort Bend ISD trustee, position number 6. For those of you who are going to the polls, we're voting right now as we speak until 5 o'clock. Early voting ends on the 27th, and election day is May the 1st. I'm number 1 on the ballot. So remember that once you get to number 1, you're done. So I'm running for school board because, you want me to keep going? I'm running for school board because we have some problems in Fort Bend ISD. I'm one of those parents that have, all of my kids have graduated. The last one finished in 2016. I've been volunteering in the school system forever. And someone told me, Stephanie, when you get out there and talk, I got so much history and it takes up so much time. But I want to tell you that I have been working in the community for so long until people used to think I worked at the schools. And that's elementary, middle school, and high. One of the little boys that went to school with me, he's grown now. He went, Miss Brown, you've been working for MD Anderson for 21 years. I thought you worked for the school. And, that meant a lot to me because that meant that I was in there that strong and the kids felt like I was just a part of what was going on. But in that, I've been able to see great schools turn into what they call I call it underserved school. They call it underperforming schools. But I see great kids without resources, without the things that they need to be successful academically. And they are great kids with just the things that they get. But just imagine if they got what they needed, they'd be even better. So we're struggling with a district that gives us a subpar education and expect us to be the best students that we could be. And by design, we are struggling, so they say, because we are underutilized. And that's because they are taking all the students away. We get great teachers, they take those away and put them in other schools. We have had the best engineering program in the district, and they took that away and gave it to another school. And you have infighting within one community against the other. Right now, we have two Fort Bend ISDs, the east side and the west side. And I'm hoping that I can put a change to that because I know all the history and I know what's happened. So I chaired and founded a group called the Marshall Advocacy Focus Group. uh, Mr. Monroe came down and helped us get what he said at the time was a seat at the table because we were fussing and arguing and fighting, showing up at board meetings because we needed Title One. And so we started that journey, and from that, we formed an organization that has gotten so many different things. Now, I want to go back to Title One because they say we have it, but I don't know if the funding is being distributed like it should be. So that's something that we need to make sure of. Since I've been with that advocacy focus group, we brought and collaborated with the chief of schools and been able to bring in some programs like the technical piano tech. We brought in early literacy, which will be starting at the elementary level. And we fought for that because they already talk. They're always talking about gaps in education, especially now with COVID. But we know that there were gaps before COVID. So now we have gaps on top of gaps, right? So we said, let's get our kids educated at the ground level so we could get them what they need in pre-K through third grade. And then they'll be able to be successful when they get to middle through high school. But on the Monroe show last time, I talked a whole lot. So I'm not going to go on and on and on unless you want me to, because I could keep going, y'all.
Hey, well, like I said, I think that is awesome. It's great. You wouldn't happen to have, and you mentioned that they're early voting right now in your district, so people can go
Yes.
and vote and do what they need to do in your district right now. Okay, so you guys out there in that district need to go out there and vote and put the votes in when you want to do that. So I'm gonna get, I got some questions for you guys. I'll be monitoring the chat. Demetra K will be here as soon as she can. But 5-star, tell me a little bit of how you and Miss Brown formed this alliance in regards to the education and how you guys feel about education, especially for our children, because so many people use the school board basically as a stepping stone to political office. They really don't give a damn about our kids. So you guys got this coalition, so tell us a little bit about what you saw in Miss Brown as a candidate and vice versa. I'm going to go back to Miss Brown later, but 5-star.
Well, basically, man, they already had their group formed, but nobody was listening. They don't do anything else with me. They'll listen to me. So, I showed up and I gave a speech at the school board in Fort Bend that went viral. About 8 million views on YouTube. And the thing was, is you teach people, as I taught them, that you don't sit at their table, and they were not giving those children Title I. I had done the research. I had figured out that they qualified for it. Saying that they wasn't in the board. President, who's actually running for re-election, was one of the main ones that didn't want to give the kids. You have an X amount of children, a percentage of kids that are socially, economically disadvantaged in your school. You determine the number of lunch applications. So Marshall qualified. So I just got with them. We were able to get somebody from the district to sit down and talk to them, and then after that, it was all on them, man. I just got them got the people to listen to these people. That was all it was.
Okay, a quick follow-up, 5-star. Here's a question that I have. If elected as a trustee, what do you think is the problem, or what are you going to bring and change that needs to be changed in the Houston Independent School District when you're elected?
Due to the feedback, hopefully I answer your question right. The thing that I'm going to do is nobody wants to listen to the parents. That's a problem for me. Because some of these parents, black, white, whatever, Latino, they're very, very, you gotta know how the school system is supposed to work. But nobody wants to listen to them. So what I plan on doing is having a monthly meeting. A monthly meeting for the school board meeting comes out. We'll have a community meeting. We'll go over that agenda in its entirety. And I'm gonna allow the parents not going to the meeting that Thursday night. So they will have a voice in the boardroom because I work for them. So if they tell me to vote no on a certain issue, give the parents a voice.
Ms. Brown, same question. When you get elected, what is something that you are going to do that you think needs to be done, when you get elected on there, that has to change, or, what's one of your main platforms of like, this has to something that you're going to do?
Thank you for that question. One of the things that we suffer with in Fort Bend ISD, and I'm not sure if everybody knows, well, I think they know now, is transparency. You can't really know when someone's telling the truth or not. They'll tell you that you're going to be entitled to something one day, and then the next couple of days it has changed. That's gone on through not just COVID, but for me as a community leader and working and trying to advocate for things at our school. I've just found out that, I'm just going to put it plain as day, people lie. And today I said, they should call it politics, because I found out a lot of things being on this other side, and it's sickening. And so, like Monroe said, the people need a voice. Someone asked me, will a community said, will we be able to have conversation and be able to make change for our community when you get there? And I was like, you should already be able to do that in your community, because people don't know what these communities need, and nobody can go out there and speak on that for you except for you if you live in that community. That's just like Monroe witnessed everybody trying to make decisions for the Marshall kids, and most of those people had not even stepped foot in that school before. So me being a candidate, I know what it feels like to not be heard, to not feel like you're valued, to not be able to trust. And I'm not just saying that to you guys. I have relationships with board members, with the superintendent, with the chief of schools, and I don't cut any slack when I'm talking to them if I don't feel like they're being straight with me. And I would be the same type of person, not just for my community, but for all of them, because I know what happens. And right now we have candidates that's my opponents that's taking all the credit that me and the Marshall Advocacy Focus Group have done over the last 2 years. Do you know how frustrating that is for those people that have been taken off their jobs, working toward goals, bringing in experts to talk to these people, and just sacrificing for the last 2 years in order to get some programs in our schools? I didn't ask to be a politician. I'm not a politician, like Monroe said. I came in this because it was a need. I can continue to do what I do because I'm going to do it anyway. But to continue to not know whether one day you're going to close the school one day, you're going to repurpose it the next, you're going to take away resources. I've just heard them all. So, like I said, the reason for me running was not my choice, and I'm not a politician. It's a need. And if you have to take all of the work that we've worked 2.5 years to do as a community member and not a board member, and you've been there for 6 years, that means it's time for change. Because that means I've been working and doing the work that you guys are implementing now in the system without a title. I don't have to have a title to do what I'm doing. If all you can do is sign off on someone else's, then do that as somebody sitting on the side. Because when we wanted Title One, you stood in the way. And that was resources for our kids.
Right.
When you got another board member doing the same thing right now. I'm thinking, am I the only candidate that's running against these people? It's 6 people in the race. The pastor said, if you don't have at least 5 haters, you must be doing something wrong. So I can say I must be doing something right. I'm not the only one in this race, but it seems like all of my ideas are great ideas, and they're claiming them for their platform. Everybody knows on this little card, it's in the minutes, y'all, with the chief of schools, Marshall
You
Advocacy
gotta cut.
Focus Group. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Shani Ledit says this. I'm gonna direct this back to Miss Ford, and I'll go back to the 5-star, and I'll go back, back and forth back between you guys. He says, Shani, I'm sorry. She says, let's fast forward to next year, and you're a trustee. What will you have accomplished? If not, how will stakeholders hold you accountable? So basically, you're already a trustee. What will you have accomplished? And if you haven't accomplished anything, how can we hold you accountable? Because once they get those seats, it's very hard to hold somebody accountable that ain't doing the job.
Is that for me or is that for Monroe?
Yeah, that's going to be for you. Then Monroe. Then I'll go from Monroe back to you.
Okay. One of the things that we're talking about now is Black scheduling. And Black scheduling was actually something that we brought to the table in 2019. And since COVID, they've implemented that throughout the district. Okay. So they've recently decided they're not going to do it school-wide, district-wide. They're going to just implement them in the 3 schools on the east side. So when we first started Block scheduling, the conversation, we actually brought in someone to the district to train an expert to tell them how to do it because it was successful when our Marshall opened up. There's been a question of why are you implementing it? The president said, why are you implementing it all over the district when it wasn't successful at the school my son went to? Well, we can tell them how to work it, the training that's needed, and it can be implemented all over the district for those schools that want it. How I'm going to be held accountable for that? I'm one vote. If the community wants it and it's something that I could do to implement it, I will do my best to get it there. But again, I'm one vote. If I can't, we're going to take it. We're going to advocate for it. We're going to fight for it, just like I did in my community. And you can hold me accountable, because one thing I won't do is lie for anybody. If they're not telling the truth, because I know what that feels like, I'm going to be honest with the constituents. If it's something that's in my power to change or to do, I will do that. And if I can't, I'll tell you I can't. And then I will go get and we'll seek experts to help it. Because just like I think we have a problem with the transparency and trust issue because nobody wants to admit they don't know. There's somebody that could teach you that. So that's how I'll be held accountable. And if you have any other questions for me to add to that, I could do that.
Same question, 5-star. Let's fast forward to next year. You're already a trustee. What will you have accomplished? If not, how can we hold you accountable?
Oh man, that's simple, bro. I'm gonna go through one of my schools and check the data on how many certified teachers we got on our campus. They placate like we got all these certified teachers on the campus, and those classrooms are being manned by long-term subs. Well, here's the problem. A long-term sub, according to the law, cannot issue a grade in a classroom. So technically, the children shouldn't be getting the grades that they're getting, and they're getting uncertified education. So here's my thing. I need my kids to get certified education. I need my children to get certified education. So what you would be looking at in a year is every school in my district, every position in a classroom would be manned by a certified teacher. Every single one. Now, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to fight to give these teachers more money. It's ridiculous what they're paying teachers in the Houston Independent School District, the biggest school district in the state of Texas, and you are not even paying teachers a comparable wage to what they're getting from districts that are right outside of HISD. So I would be looking at them getting more money, nobody laid off, health insurance not increasing. If you're not giving them more money, why would you increase their health insurance? So, but the main thing that I know I can accomplish is to make sure that these kids have certified education in those classrooms. Because if your child goes 30 days without certified education, you can actually move your child to another school.
Okay, follow-up question here, Dr. Monroe. Question is this. We're trying to get to qualified immunity. A lot of controversy with the immunizations as it's coming down. I mean, school board isn't just high schoolers and young adults. It's, kindergartners all the way up and maybe even preschoolers in some situations. As a school board member, what is your stance on COVID vaccinations for students?
Well, first of all, I leave that up to the parents. From a school district standpoint, that should be optional. You shouldn't force this vaccine on parents or kids. They don't want to take it. Let's stop it. So if we got to continue to do virtual as well as in school, then I'm fine. But just force this vaccine on families and on that just don't want to take it. So, I think a child without vaccine, I think they run the same way. But that should be an option.
Okay, and a follow-up to the COVID question in regards to some of these teachers. What if a teacher does not want to be vaccinated, and would that same principle apply to the educators as well?
That question for me?
Yes, follow-up.
Okay, well, I still say the same thing. It should be optional for the teachers. Let's just be honest, man. It takes 10 to 15 years to create a vaccine. This is not a vaccine that they give to these people. It's not a vaccine. I'm sorry, but it's not a vaccine. So that should be left up to the teacher, but the school district in itself, cannot decide this. So that would come to a vote. And if it comes across and I'm a trustee, then I am definitely going to vote to force somebody to get the vaccine, whether it's a child, whether it's a teacher. I would not do that. I would vote no.
Same question, Ms. Brown. The COVID vaccines going out in regards to our students and our teachers. What is your stance in regards to mandatory vaccinations or involuntary, vaccinations, voluntary vaccinations?
Well, I have to say, I work for one of the best institutions in the country. and it's a cancer center, MD Anderson. And I have to say, they give us choices. They're not saying you have to go in there and do it. They make it available if you want to have it, and they're not forcing it on us. And I think I would take that same stance um, um, if the parent and the student chose not to do that, and they may have their personal reasons for not wanting to do that. That would be their choice. I don't think that we should impose that on everybody as a whole, because you don't know what their situations are, even their beliefs. So I would not make it mandatory. I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but I know some people that work with me that are absolutely against taking that vaccine because of the research that they've done on their own. So I have to agree. I have to agree with Monroe on that. And you asked me something about, and I want to, I'm sorry, piggyback to that question, accountability in the schools and things like that. What Monroe was talking about, it was stated that all of our schools have met standard. All of our schools have met standard, yet that they're still saying that we have under performing schools. And you guys know that when COVID came, they waived the qualifications for the standard test. So to go out and brag about that, I mean, that to me, that's no transparency. Say why they've all met standard.
That's a good question there. Hey, you guys, we're doing the monthly fundraiser. I just donated, and I donated what I usually do, every week, and whatever the deal is, every little bit helps. But like a pastor, we don't mind the ones that roll, but we prefer the kind that fold. So if you guys can do that, and also you can early vote in Miss Stephanie Brown's election. They're voting right now in her district. And Miss Brown, you have a lot of cheerleaders on here. And Miss Brown is in she's going for position 6 in the district that she is running in. So you guys continue to do that as well. Number one, there we go. So one of the big problems a lot of people are having, especially when it comes to school districts, administrators are making way more salary than the results that they are supposed to give for our children in regards to the school district. So Miss Brown, I'm going back to Miss Brown and then back to 5-star. What is your position in regards to these exorbitant salaries that we are giving to these administrators, and yet the results don't reflect the salaries that we are paying them?
Well, I have a good example of that. Right before we started fighting to get Title I, we found out that we had an extra layer of principals at our school, a principal and an executive principal. And they said, well, you know what? You guys don't need to get Title I because we're already giving you $800 and something thousand. And I might be wrong on the number, but we found out that money was going to a salary. It wasn't going to the kids. It was 6 figures was going to an executive principal. It was going to a parking lot attendant, and it was going out to an administrative assistant or something like that. Not one dime of that money was going toward the kids' education. So no, we have to put the monies where they're going to make a difference. And that's just the greatest example as I could give you. To another form of non-transparency. So if we would have just accepted, oh, we're already getting $800 and something thousand, we good. But a little more research told you that it wasn't going towards the kids' education. No wonder we are low performing. No wonder we're underserved. No wonder. And we making the money for the district. We have 75% free and reduced lunch. They make a lot of money on the back of those kids. And to take it and spread it out somewhere else, I don't care what they say. It needs to be changed. If in 6 years you couldn't do nothing about it, we need to make some changes. And the people that are coming back that didn't do anything for the 18 months that you've sat on that board, you need to move over and let somebody else do it. Because I guarantee you, if I get in there, there will be honesty. There will be transparency. And I don't know everything, but I'm not afraid to ask. I'll get with the experts that could tell us what we need to do. And it doesn't need to be all at the top. It does not all need to be at the top when we got schools that are suffering.
Yeah, exactly. A 5-star, same question. These exorbitant administrative salaries are not meeting the objectives of the students. What is your take on money that we're paying to these administrators, and yet the schools are still failing?
I mean, you got to look at, first of all, the test in itself. The STAR test in the state of Texas is a joke. High stakes testing needs to go away. We need to get our teachers back to being able to actually teach our children. But I will say this: if an administrator can get a raise every year, and I've seen it done for the last 7 or 8 years in the Houston Independent School District, why aren't the teachers getting their step raises? Remember, I told you one of the things that I'm going to be battling on is to make sure that teachers get more money. As far as the schools actually failing, I mean, I don't like the test. The test is set up to make schools fail. A lot of people don't know that. Those tests are set up to make schools fail. So they'll take the bottom 3% of the people that failed, and then they'll make them the worst schools in the state of Texas. But I don't believe that teachers and administrators, you know, students don't fail. The system fails the students. So I think that teachers need more money. I mean, they've worked so hard during this pandemic, man. You know, whether it was in the classroom, virtually, some of them had to double up and do in-class and virtual learning. That we have to find the money, and the money's there. In the Houston Independent School District, you have a position called a school support officer. That's right above the principal. They need to get rid of those positions, and then that would free up more money that you could pour into the classrooms.
Awesome. Hey, you guys, don't forget to hit that Cash App button. We are doing a fundraiser. And like I said, I just donated. Any bit like helps. We need to get our candidates that are going to care about our students into these positions, because you've got people that are lifers sitting there just collecting a check, or just there, you know, to be politically bound to other groups and things and make decisions when they really don't give a damn. But the question comes out 5 stars this: how will you ensure that these students' academic gaps do not widen? Please be specific. And wherever you're at, you're sounding great. So you're sounding great wherever you're at.
Well, first of all, you got to accept the fact that our school system is segregated. Our school system is segregated. I don't care what nobody tells me. I mean, I know it, and it's being segregated by school choice and magnet programs. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, how do you close the achievement gap? That's simple. Give the kids what they need to close the gaps. Give them better teachers. Give them after school tutorial programs. If you want to put a program in after school, okay, in this school, we can't do checkers and chess after school. We're going to have to make it mandatory tutorials. You see what I'm saying? And you just going to have to hold these teachers accountable. And we have to realistically understand that when people apply for these jobs, you can't keep sending the rookies, the brand new teacher fresh out of college, to the toughest schools in the district. You can't do it. It doesn't work. And most of those schools are black and brown children. So a lot of these people have a total disconnect from those kids. You got to get people in there that have the passion and the will to want to see the kids perform at the highest level.
Oh, great answer there. I like that answer. Ms. Brown, same question. How will you ensure that these students' academic gaps do not widen? Please be specific.
We are working on now with our focus group, interventionist, where the gaps are now in the high school, because you can't go back. So they need help where they are right now to try to bridge those gaps. At the starting level, and I think I said this in my introduction, we will be getting early literacy at the elementary level to prevent the gaps. But you got gaps on top of gaps, COVID gaps, and the gaps that was there because of inequity, you know. And so we've got to find out where they are and put some interventionists in there and teach our kids and give them everything they need in order to be able to be on that same playing field. And it's going to take a lot.
Miss Brown, another question for you. Like I said, in Miss Brown's district, they are voting right now, early voting. So if you have not voted and you're at the turkey leg hut or you're down there at Papa Do's, you guys get done eating, you get your turkey leg, go out there and vote. You guys are worried about voter suppression. Why wait until the last minute? Vote now and it won't be an issue. Vote now and it won't be an issue. You got an opportunity to do it. Ms. Brown, the question that's coming up now is this. With this new COVID thing that's coming out, teachers, some teachers, not all, are shown that a lot of them have exposed the fact that they can't teach. You know, the home learning and stuff, it's shown that a lot of teachers really can't teach. But we've also learned that it is a good platform for those, let's say, high schoolers. Now, if you come from a big family and a high school kid wants to work or whatever, would you see envisioning in some situations and maybe even some classes putting in homeschooling for high schoolers that might be working or might be doing college level work and kind of implement that into the future? Because as we know, as adults now, companies were spending big money sending people to business meetings, and now they're doing it via Zoom and doing all these other things. Would you consider implementing because the kids need socialization? We know that they need to go to school in some capacities, but some of us, we want to work. Some of us, we want to do other things. We want to go to the colleges and, get our things knocked out. Would you consider implementing this new technology that's now taking off, like we're here doing the StreamYard thing, in college courses or school courses? I'm sorry.
In school courses. I have an example of that, and I do believe it could work for those who want that. A lot of our kids, like my granddaughter, not so much of a at-home learner. She needs to be in the classroom. So it needs to be tailored around to what that individual child needs. There are some people in Fort Bend ISD that love the idea of working and doing schoolwork at home, and they're excelling at it. So what they're doing now is, I guess, trying to see, or they may be doing sort of like a pilot next year on those kids that may qualify to do that. I would say yes, because my niece, my great niece, finished high school in 3 years. Going to she was taking classes, accelerated classes that allow her to finish her 4 years of high school in 3. Well, I didn't even know that existed, and she's in the same ISD that I'm in, but she was on the other side of the district. So some kids know about these things and it's available to them, and some don't. So that's one of the things that I would like to make sure that all of the parents, all of the students know all of the things that are available in Fort Bend ISD, and that they are able to take advantage of it. Because I don't know if I gave this example to Monroe. I was in a high school where we had one of the best aviation programs, and I didn't even know about it. So we need to make sure that people are able to do. We don't need to dummy down our kids. If they're able to do that sort of work and be excellent at it, then by all means, let them do it. But again, I will re-emphasize, you can't do that. It's not a cookie cutter thing. You can't do that at all the schools, because all of the kids are not learning right now. Some kids are struggling with this online thing. And that's why they're talking about the gaps now, because it's affecting so many students across the board. So yeah, we got to look at it on an individual basis, and basically just make sure it's the right thing, and not throw it at everybody and say, hey, we got this new innovative program, we're going to put it out there and let it fall where it may. No, we have to make sure we're hitting the ground and making sure it's right for each student.
Right.
I'm all for greatness and doing something better in the district.
Absolutely. Monroe, same question. How are you about doing on-school learning for those that can do it? Like on the high school level, maybe some students want to, go work, kind of like the vocational things when we were growing up, where I can go to the auto shop and become an apprentice and do that. What is your take on this online type learning situation?
Well, first of all, homeschooling is the best schooling that you can ever get. because you actually are going to learn. You're not dealing with these high stake tests, and the only thing you're doing is studying for the test. They teaching you the test. So, man, I'm all for it. I think the pandemic has shown the United States of America that we are educationally behind about 40 years. You look at the education that they're getting in Europe compared to what these children are getting here. So anything that can help the kids, then I'm all for it. And as far as us not performing during the pandemic, let me tell you, you said a mouthful when you said some of these teachers, and that's been exposed during the pandemic. So now you can't cook the books because it ain't no books to cook. So you can't just make the food good. They got to perform. And if you don't have some type of training involved to teach children about online learning, because I go to school online right now, it's all about time. It's all about delegating your time. And if they don't understand that, they're not gonna do good. I think it needs to be more collaboration, communication, as it pertains to homeschooling, because like I said, homeschooling is the best schooling that your child could ever get. You see what I'm saying? But there also needs to be communication so the kids can understand how to do great online learning so that they can accomplish their goal, which is to graduate.
Boy. In the especially down in the South, there's been a lot of revisionist history in the history books and even in some of the science books as they're putting in political ideology. Uh, Five Star, what is your take on how these books are being written and the curriculum is being taught? Because, again, we have a group of people in the United States that is a small, and they're getting smaller every year, and the fear is coming out in regards to their revisionist history. How would you? What is your opinion on that? And what in the school district and how that's being taught?
Well, I fought for many years to get African American studies to Houston Independent. Um, the problem that I have with it is people that are actually writing the new curriculums. If you don't have, if you're not African American, or if you don't have a history of understanding our African American culture and what we've gone through, then you shouldn't be the one writing the curriculum. That's how I feel about it. I mean, no slight to white people, but you've written all the curriculums. Look at what we've learned. Most of what I learned about history, I didn't learn in a schoolhouse. So yeah, I have a problem with the way they're writing the curriculum, and that's something that we would have to battle at the legislative level on. And I know that HISD has a person that's, uh, but no, that ain't. I don't need a liaison. I'd be down in Austin fighting myself because it needs to change. If you're gonna teach children Black history, teach them the good, the bad, and the don't change nothing because that's the only way they're gonna learn it. You teach us the good bad of regular American history. Why not African American history? The same thing with Latino. They know the truth, and it needs to be a Latino who actually dealing with that curriculum. If that's not happening, I can't support it.
Ms. Brown, same question. Ethnic studies within the school system. A lot of things are being changed. You have people saying that the great Southern struggle against the federal government was they're just rewriting it totally to what it's really actually not doing. What is your take in regards to what is being taught in the curriculum in regards to a school district that might be majority Black, might be majority Hispanic? What is your take on that?
I'm with Monroe. I think the truth needs to be told. If it's our history, it's our history. And tell it exactly like it is. And we've asked about the Black history curriculum that I think they're working on in Fort Bend ISD, and I've asked who's writing it and how it's going to be taught. And I think they're taking a lot of lesson from the Sugarland 95 that went on here not too long ago. But I'm with him. Someone that knows this history in its, in depth should be able to not just talk about that, but talk about all of the history because it's important for all. And like he said, the Hispanics, they need to know their history, and it doesn't need to be watered down.
Let's talk about this, and and it's a big issue going on in the United States. Women's rights, Title IX in regards. You have like a lot of young girls that love to play sports and basketball, and we have political malfeasance, in my opinion, where you're having transgender people involved in sports. And I don't know, Miss Brown, if you're really into sports. I don't know that for a fact, but you have heard of transgender athletes crossing over into women's sports and all that other stuff. What's your stance in regards to transgender athletes?
I'm gonna honestly say that I have not read a whole lot about it. I've been hearing about that. I have to wonder about and I have not given an opinion one way or the other, but I have to wonder if it's going to be equal. When you start talking about the strength. I'm an athlete. I played softball, volleyball. I probably used to get out there and play football. So uh, I'm going to leave that one open because I have a question about the strength and if it's going to be, fair. And that's all I want to see. Is it being fair where it's an equal opportunity to play?
Right.
And I have respect. I don't have anything against transgender, but it's something that we need to discuss. It's something that we need to open up and talk about so we all have an understanding. Because I think at this point we haven't talked about it enough.
Right.
I love to hear what Monroe thinks about that because I really haven't been asked that question, so I really can't answer that. I'll just leave that one open.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of children are coming out identifying as transgendered. I mean, it affects the bathrooms, where they go and where they dress and all that other stuff. But same question to you, 5-star, your opinion, and you guys are going to be dealing with this when you get on the school board. Transgender issues within the school districts. What's your opinion?
My opinion is simple. You play the sport that you have identified with. So if you are a girl, you play girl sports. If you're a boy, you play boy. Now sometimes that crosses over with girls want to play football. I've never been for that because I just feel like the boys are bigger, stronger, and the young ladies could possibly get hurt. But to force the issue, no, I'm not for that. I don't believe that the transgender issue is a staple in the sports world in UIL. And I think we are fine just the way that we are. I don't see why it's so important for a guy to want to go run track against some girls. First of all, his testosterone level is way higher than a girl. He has more muscle mass. Let's just be real about it. He has a competitive advantage, and that's not going to make it fair. So I think the boys should play with boys and the girls should play with the girls.
Quick follow-up, since we're dealing with the youth people, because this is what this is all about, giving our kids the resources they need to be successful adults and have a successful life. Unfortunately, in all communities, not just the Black community, not just the Hispanic community, we have incidences where our girls end up as young mothers. What programs can you do to better the resources for our young mothers to continue their education and move forward in their educational process?
A curriculum question to me. I think that you need to roll in some type of early childhood parenting into our curriculums. We have to accept the fact that children are having sex at a young age. So we have to educate them. The worst thing you can do is not educate them. That's the worst thing that you can do. We have to provide more support at the school level for our babies that are not just the girls that are having babies, but for the young fathers who have to become a father all of a sudden. Yesterday you were a freshman. Your sophomore year, you're a father. So I think there needs to be some type of courses, some type of curriculum that addresses these issues. and then I think that we'll be okay. I will say that I'm more for no sex at a young age. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy life. You'll get to that in your late 20s.
Ms. Brown, same question. You're a mother of 3 grown children. I mean, not saying you were in that situation, but as a woman, you have more of a, I would say, an opinion than, let's say, myself and Monroe.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I had my 2 boys first. And I always question why we put more pressure on the mothers of girls. I believe that we should treat our sons the same. I taught my boys that when I saw them doing something, I said, that's somebody's daughter. I'm just as much as responsible for you as they are for their daughters. So I think that they should be, like Monroe said, they should be equally educated on the things that are going to happen if they decide to make those choices. We need to educate them and put something in the curriculum where they could know what, if something does happen like that, that we are helping them in the education center. When I was going to school, they had a separate school for girls when they got pregnant. I don't know if they got what they got taught, but they didn't come back to school until after. We didn't even know some of them had babies. But I imagine they were getting some type of education and assistance while they were going through that. Now in colleges, they even have daycares on the campuses. And I know that's probably been going on. But like I said, I feel like we should give the same responsibilities, assistance, education to both guys and girls, because they are both going to be responsible at the end of the day. And we can't give the guys a free pass. They're responsible as well. So, like Monroe said, I agree with what he said.
Miss Brown, another question is, everything always comes down to money, especially when it comes to our students. And, and you got these administrators that figure, oh, it's better to close a bunch of schools and consolidate. I know my birth town in Louisiana, there used to be like 3 high schools, the Catholic high school, whatever the district was. And now everybody goes to this centralized high school that looks like a federal prison. And it's just crazy. I mean, everybody that goes there in that parish, from my understanding of it. And so, we've got kids down there in Houston. You guys have different areas of the Houston area, because Houston is huge. That's the 4th biggest city in the United States. You got a lot of students there. So in regards to resources and getting those resources to keep the schools from closing, what is your idea to bring more resources? Because as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay more taxes and you're still closing schools. That just makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense. I was at a board meeting about a month ago, and I heard them going over data. And so they were asking why we were losing students to charter and private schools. And the answer that the data person gave was, oh, a lot of times, we lose kids to other schools because they live in areas that schools are undesirable. That still sticks with me, because why do we have undesirable schools? If you know they're undesirable, then do something about it. So we need to make sure that those undesirable schools are desirable, find out what those charter and privates are doing to get those students, get them in that school, and then stop taking the students out of the schools where they're zoned to and putting them in other schools. So you won't have a reason to shut down. A lot of this stuff is done by design, because they're steady taking kids and programs away. And then there's nothing left for the schools to do or the students to do. And I'll tell you, as a parent, I'm looking for a quality education for my child. So I'm going to look and see what this school has. Okay, well, you don't have what my child desires. So I'm going to take them and put them in another school. And that just continues. When my daughter was in 8th grade, they said, you know what? She's an AB student. Go ahead and send her over to the medical academy. If it doesn't work out, you can always send her back to your home school. Well, we shouldn't feel like we need to do that. So if the district is telling parents that, then that's why we're losing our kids. Our schools are closing. We're not getting resources. They're steady every 2 and 3 years talking about let's close or restore. They love our schools. They love the buildings. They just don't want us in it. And I've said that before I started to run, because I've had to go every 2 years, put on a Save Our Schools shirt and go and beg the district to listen to us and not close our schools. We used to have 600 and 700 kids in a class, and now we're down to 200 and something kids. That's a big difference. Why? Because of resources. So I'll tell you, we got two foreign languages at our school, French and Spanish. So our advocacy group fought to get sign language, which will start this year. I found that out because my son went to college and he was dyslexic, and the counselors told me, well, he doesn't have to take French or Spanish. He could take sign language because that can replace that foreign language. I had no idea. So we went and fought for that in the district, and now it's going to be at our high school. Not only at our high school, but it's also going to be at Willow Ridge. Now, the district won't tell you that was our idea, but it was. So there are all kinds of things you can do to bring back our students. And Monroe said one time, give those students what they want to do. If they want to go and make music, then put something in there like that. If they want to rap, then design it to where they're doing something and they're going to make money coming out of that doing it. So some of the things that's coming there, like Piano Tech was one of the things that they offered to us, and it started last year. But because of COVID, we're not doing it to the fullest. What my question was, you putting these programs in there, but make sure you're giving the opportunity to these kids that's coming out of the feeder pattern. If you're going to put it in there and then give it out all through the district, you're still not giving our kids anything. And like Monroe say, we'll be looking at our kids having to apply to go to their own school. So I know I keep talking. Monroe say I'm long-winded. I'm sorry, but I just had that passion and I could go on and on and on.
Amen. Monroe, same question in regards to the funding in the schools.
Man, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's say this here. Everything Steph said is cool. It's good. Why is the governor of the state of Texas withholding billions of dollars in COVID relief for education, trying to get it reallocated? He's trying to get a waiver. He did it with the first set of COVID money, and do another waiver for this COVID money so he can use the money for what he needs to use it for. There is more than enough money. You understand what I'm saying? There is more than enough money to fund our schools. The problem is we have a governor that's taking the money, doing what he want to do with it. Where is the money from the gambling? You told us if we get the lotto and all this stuff here, X amount of money would go to education. We have never seen this money. HISD alone is waiting. I think it's like $100-200 million that they would get from this COVID, educational fund. But the governor is holding that up. I need people to realistically understand that there is more than enough money. Our problem is Greg Abbott not giving the money where it needs to go. We have a Texas Education Agency Commissioner, Mike Morath, who was appointed by Abbott, who will never buck Abbott to say that this money needs to come down to the school level. We have the money. We just got to get it out the governor's hands.
A follow-up question, Mr. Monroe. We have of course, a lot of school shootings and stuff that's going on in schools, and we have police officers or resource officers, whatever you want to call them, within the schools. What is your stance on school officers and school safety in general?
It's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. Let's just be straight up with it, man. Some of these schools have only one officer when they should have 3. These children need to be safe at all times on these school campuses. If you want to scream defund something, especially in the school system, go defund the administration. But do not defund the police department, because we need these officers to keep the campuses safe. And I will say that the Houston Independent School District has some of the most patient, police officers that I have ever seen in my life. They're the 13th lowest paid in the area, Houston and surrounding counties. They interact with more kids every day than some Houston police officers interact with in a month. So bottom line, I will never vote to get rid of the police officers on the school campuses, because I clearly understand that if you didn't have none, it would be survival of the fittest. It would be survival of the fittest. So no, we need to give our officers the money that they rightfully deserve. We need to give them the technology, because the Houston Independent School District Police Department does not have state-of-the-art technology for their police department. You see what I'm saying? That's something that I fought for, and I'm proud to say a few years back that I stood real heavy, 10 toes down, for the HISD Police Department and helped them secure $1 million bonus because they needed it.
Another quick follow-up, Mr. Monroe, you are very big in the athletic world. You were on a very great, you came out of a great farm system in regards to high school students. There's a lot of talk about student athletes and them getting paid. And we know that where you're from, Friday Night Lights is real. That type of situation is real. People live to see the kids play on Friday nights, football, basketball, whatever else is going on. What's your stance on, well, I don't even know if it's a stance, but we know that those football games and those athletic venues bring in a lot of money to the schools when you guys are selling tickets and stuff. What is your stance on student athletes basically getting a stipend of some of the revenue that they generate for the school?
In the perfect world, that would sound great, but at the moment, I could not support it. You're a high school athlete, and you know what's so crazy? You asked me that question, and today I got a package all the way up in Minnesota. I reordered my Letterman's jacket, and I'm looking at this jacket and the patches on the jacket, and I never even thought about getting paid. I just wanted to be a good football player, a good golf player. I just wanted to be all district in swimming. That's what I wanted to be. I think it doesn't need to get to that point at the high school level. I think that's more of a college level where they generate billions of dollars every year. Say Ohio State, Texas, LSU, they generate billions of dollars. You see what I'm saying? But at the high school level, I don't think it needs to get to that. I think they need to focus on their academics first and athletics second. And, for the people that's like, well, everybody can't be a football player. Well, some of them can be. So we got to support them as much as we can. So, I think focus on your academics, then hone in on your athletics, and then use that as a stepping stone to get to college for free.
All right, Ms. Brown, same questions in regards to police presence and security on district campuses.
I think it's very important. Some of the officers that have been working for Fort Bend ISD have been around a long time, and they're just like friends. And I know that they really care about the students. I think that their presence is welcomed, especially if they're on the campus a long time and the kids get to know them. They know how to approach the kids in the right manner to, calm them down, to avoid things going to another level. So I'm like Monroe on that. I think it's very important, and we do not need to cut that down on the campuses.
And then in regards to student athletes, possibly, or just maybe a stipend, because some of these kids are so good and they come to school in regards to making it to the pros and making to the athletes, but some of them come from disadvantaged homes and stuff. So there's been a big conversation about these student athletes getting a small stipend in regards to the money that they generate for the high schools.
Now, I don't think that it should be a stipend on the high school level. I played high school sports. My son did. My daughter actually got a full ride for basketball. I think on the high school level, they need to be focused on, like Monroe said, and I agree, academics was always first in my house. And basketball, football, or whatever was it came second. If you were not doing good in academics, you were not going to do that other thing that you say you so love. So it should be, I'm going out there. I love it. I got a passion for it. I like having fun. I like being with my teammates. We're going to make this happen. I happen to be a part of the almighty Buffaloes. Y'all know we good at football, basketball. We got the baddest track team, the baddest track coach. I'm there. I'm going charter buses, going to the state football, asking the fans to get on from all over the district. Hey, let's go down there and support. And it's just not my team. I support all the teams that are doing something in Fort Bend ISD. But I just have to say, we got the best coaches in the whole wide world. Monroe, you know that. So they're dedicated to those kids. And if I think money was involved, I think it would be it would make it different. You know, right now we're all having fun. We're pushing these students. Uh, Actually, I was such a supporter. I got one of the state champion rings from the track team. Like, I'm so proud of that. But no, we should not pay them at a high school level. We should let them look and see what they accomplish in their academics, their how hard they work to get scholarships, and we should make them know that if you don't get your academics together, you can't even be accepted at those big schools that you want to go to. You have to have the right test score. You have to have the right grade. All that stuff has to equate to the kind of school that you want to go to and play. So if they're worried about what check they're going to get next week, that's, that might take away from what their real goal is. Do you want to play on another level? Do you want to even go pro, which we know some do? So we have to make them understand that high school is important and academics is first. You could either play them or let them play you, but you need to get your education and then take it to the next level. Now, when it comes to the colleges, yeah, I see a lot of money being pulled in, from all over. And they really, the booster clubs and everything, they're making money for those schools. That's something to be discussed. And I know that, people are talking about it, but you're asking me about the high school, and I'll leave it at that.
Amen. That was an excellent answer right there. I really like that answer. But here's the question I think a lot of people really want to know from both of you guys, and I'm gonna give this back to Miss Brown as well. One thing I can tell you as a parent, I can tell you as a student, former student, I never knew who was on the school board. Never knew. I mean, as a student, I never knew because we never saw him. We never saw him. So when you win this election, I don't know how big your district is because I'm in California and we have very small districts in comparative to what you guys have. And I know you're going to be very busy because, it's not a real full-time job, but it's a full-time job because you guys are dealing with people's education. It's serious business. What are you going to do to bring, you got school board members get elected, but nobody ever sees them. So what are you going to do different based on what I just told you in regards to school board? Because how can you fix a problem if you've never even been to that institution?
Is that for me? Okay. I spend maybe 3 or 4 days going to meetings at the high school already. So it would be nothing for me to make sure that I'm implementing that same practice if elected on the board. My passion is kids. A lot of the parents don't even know who I am, but the students know. I think that's very important. So I will make my way on the campuses trying to figure out the needs because I know how it feels not to have your needs met on a campus. And I also know how it feels to have people on the board to try to fix your problem and don't know what your problem is. So I would make sure that I can empathize with the campuses that need it, and I would make sure that I celebrate with the campuses that are doing well and may need some extra because we don't want to. Okay, this campus is doing great and leave it there. Well, what can we do to even make it better? So I want to be that kind of representative for the district, for all of the kids, and make sure that I'm visible and not just during the school board meetings. I want to be there when they say they're going to celebrate. I want to be there when they say they're not doing well or they're losing, not just when I want to say, oh, they won a championship. Now we want to highlight this school. No, we want to highlight them in their darkest days and we want to highlight them in their brightest days. So I will be that school board person that they go, oh, is that her full-time job? No, you don't even get paid to do this. I didn't get paid being a volunteer since 2002 at the high school as PTO president. You would think I did, but my pay is making sure that the kids are first. And that's what I would do as a school board trustee.
You know,
Oh, I can't
great.
leave out the teachers and the other staff as well. They need to know who you are too, because you're the person that's going to be speaking on their behalf. My motto is it's all about the kids, but without the rest of them, we couldn't make that happen. So yeah, I'll be looking out
Amen.
for that.
Exactly. Amen.
Thank you.
Now, uh, Jerry's been known in all kinds of school board meetings, so his reputation is already known. If you like him, if you don't like him. So, Mr. Monroe, same question in regards to, you have people that are on the school board that've been on there for 6, 7 years. There's been like 2 or 3, 4 new schools made. They were there for the ribbon cutting ceremony, but you haven't seen them since. So, for you, and a lot of students do know you because they see you on the campuses and doing what you're doing. What would be different for you?
I mean, not much, because I'm always I would challenge my voters. That's the first thing. If you voted for me, I need to see you at a school board meeting. You see what I'm saying? If you voted for me, I need to see you at a school board. I need to understand how this thing actually works. But the thing that I'm doing, where I do the monthly meeting where I go over the agenda, that's big, man. That's big. You get to cast the vote. I just go in there and carry it for you. You see what I'm saying? So you got to challenge people. There's open house at schools. You need to be there as a trustee. You need to visit your schools unceremoniously. You need to visit your school. You feel what I'm saying? And if you visit your schools, you interact with the teachers, you interact with the kids. I know a lot of kids by names and stuff. So that's the good thing about me. I won't just they don't know my name, but I want to know that. I want to know how you doing in the classroom. Is this school providing you everything that you need? You have to become very, very visible when you are a public servant. And I am a public servant. I'm not a politician. So it's just increasing the visibility and being where you need to be. But yeah.
And another follow up with that, Mr. Monroe, what is your stance on vocational programs? Because as we know, not everybody's college material, and even if you are college material, a lot of us can't afford to go because we don't want the debt. So, what is your stance on vocational programs, and how would you bring, or at least try to bring, some of those vocational programs? Or better question, what vocational programs would you bring to your district? Because every different district is different. So,
Actually, beauty and barber is something I would bring to my auto mechanics. I love my entertainment entrepreneurship academy. There's several that want it. I think, but in order to bring vocational programs to school, you have to have that discussion with the children. You have to have that discussion with the children. And we also need a lot of districts have vocational programs. They're just not in the black schools anymore. So what you took from us, you need to give it back because it was actually working. So if they're not utilizing it it's not African American, give it to a school that wants it. But I mean, it all goes back to money. With us losing a lot of kids, we have to face the fact that some of these schools are going to close. With the pandemic, we have to face the fact that money is going to be short if the governor doesn't give us our money. So even though we may want vocational programs, I think that maybe 10 years down the road where we can actually have a rational and realistic discussion about how to get it back up in. But they need to bring them back because there was nothing wrong with it when we had them.
Ms. Brown, same question. What vocational programs, even if you support vocation bringing back into the schools, would you bring back to your district?
Actually, in our group, and I'll speak on a district level because I've been talking about it in a feeder pattern. In our feeder pattern, we were surveying students in the middle school to see what they're interested in. And I would take that to a district level to see what students are interested in on the vocational side of things. And then we would try to implement those things in the school. Like Monroe said, a lot of our vocational things are now in CTE. We have a school designated for those types of programs. But long time ago, as he said, those things were on the campuses. And I think that it would be beneficial to have some of those things that the students like to do right there on the campus. They don't have to get on a bus and go, across the side of town to get there. They could do it right there on the campus. And if it's a high interest on that campus, we need to do it. I would not just say we need to have this here, because that's what's wrong with our school right now. Everybody across the nation was trying to tell us what we needed, and they didn't know our kids. They didn't know what their interests were, and they didn't even try to find out. They just put their heads together and said, well, you know what, let's put this over there. And they had their own reasons for doing that, but that's not fair to the students. You could put a program there and nobody ever even touched it. So then they can tell you, well, we gave you this and you still didn't do anything with it. Well, you didn't give them what they wanted. So I would take the students, give them a survey, actually talk to them. Some people don't even like surveys. After the survey, go back in there and talk about it. Well, why do you think you would like to have this? What do you think you would like to get out of this? And then tell them what they could do with it after they receive that certification. Maybe that'll make them more excited. Maybe it'll make them want to change their mind. But at least they won't go through a pathway where they feel like, well, I'm in it now and I'm stuck. That should not be up to me to decide. That should be up to the student.
Miss Brown, when we were coming up, and you're significantly younger than me, by the way, so I'm assuming. Um, but let me ask you that when we were coming up in, yeah, when we were coming up in school, you had like all the French clubs, you had all these places you can go, and you talk to the average student. And I have like a young nephew, and I always ask him, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And he always says, well, I want to go to Spain, or he wants to go to these places. And we used to have these clubs where, if you have the academics and, and you had the desire to do that, there were funds to where, kids could go to different places. I always want to go to I want to go to New York, but, the student trips, the senior trips. And it doesn't have to just be for the seniors. But a lot of that funding has been just stripped out of these programs. And so I hear so many kids like here in Los Angeles, I'm born in Los Angeles, I'm raised in Los Angeles, I'm going to die in Los Angeles. We got people that haven't even been to San Diego, which is 90 miles away. What can we do if you were, and you can implement it if you could? I'm not saying you can, I'm just saying, just your idea. What can we do to broaden these kids' horizons other than I went to east side of Houston? I've been as far as Galveston. I've been as far, because if you don't see it, you don't achieve it. So what would you do to expand their minds and to travel a little bit more so they can see how the real world actually operates?
I think that's an excellent question. And I'll just say idea, because some kids don't have exposure. And I think that creates even a bigger gap in our kids' education. And when I was reading up on how to help bridge the gap, a lot of it was some kids have exposure and some kids don't. So I don't know if Title I funds would pay for that for those schools that qualify for the Title I funding. If you could implement field trips and things like that, but it's certainly something to be discussed. Because when I was in school, back then, and now I'm telling my age, we went to the planetarium, which some kids probably would never go to the planetarium. I don't even know if those things exist anymore. But if you could take a kid each year and say, first grade, you go here, second grade, you get to go here. That gives people some incentive. It's like, oh, when we get to second grade, we're going to visit California. Oh, when we get to third grade, we get to visit New York. And so you're giving kids something to look forward to, and then you put something behind that. You have to meet this in order to be able to go on this trip. You accomplish these goals, then we got you. We got you. And then when we have to even fundraise to do that, that gets the parents involved. You might have to do something fundraiser once a month, But at the end of the year, your first grader is going, that gets the collaboration of the community involved. You can get the feeder patterns involved to help sponsor. It's just so many things you could do. And me being PTO president forever, and then being a part of different boards, I know how to collaborate and get people together to say, hey, you know what? We want this for our kids. How can we get it? And that's, you just put something great on my mind, because whether I'm a school board member or not, that's something that we need to be seeking, because these kids don't have exposure. And so if we got kids that have the money and parents have the money to, at the elementary level, to expose them to things in the first and kindergarten and pre-K, our kids are coming in behind, because they can't explain to you what the next kid could do. And like me and Monroe was putting our hands together, showing you the different playing fields of equity and equality. You coming into a system where you might not have even been to a library more than twice in your life. And then you're walking into a school and they're saying, okay, go to the library and check out this book. And you don't even know how, because you haven't done that before. And I'm in no way belittling in community. But let's just face it, there's exposure that some people have and some people don't, or just don't have the time. So your idea about exposing kids to different places, that's just like reading. It takes you places that you've never been before. So I'm all for that. And that's something to greatly consider.
Absolutely. Gerry, I mean, what do you feel about that? And by the way, everybody, this is our monthly fundraiser. Please hit that Cash App. You see it right there on the strip right there. $ Gerry Monroe. You can hit it, Cash App, Venmo. You can email them and let them know you're going to write a check or whatever. Just make sure you have the funds in your bank account. You know how we do. But yeah, just go ahead and support. And if you are worried about voter suppression, you can vote right now early. And Miss Brown's election right now, they're voting early, and she's in area 6. So you guys go ahead and hit that and go vote. You don't have to wait. You can do it today and until, I think, a couple more weeks. And you got a couple more weeks. So don't wait until your vote gets suppressed. But Gerry, what do you think about that in regards to exposing kids? Back in our day when we used to at least go on a trip, when I was a kid, I was a military brat. And, being in the military, you moved every so many years. So I got exposed to different countries and different things. Why my mentality is I could go anywhere. But I remember in school, people wanted to go to New York. They wanted to go here. But now we have a mentality with our students. They've never been as far as the area of their school district and maybe Austin or something, kind of close by. What is your stance on a program like that?
Second. All right. Hold on.
He'll be back. He will be back. But yeah, that's the kind of programs that we used to do. And I just kind of noticed that when they stop those programs, kids, it just seems like people, they're afraid to go outside of the city barrier. So we're going to see how he's going to come back. There he is. There you go.
I think that, especially in high school, every grade level should take an end of year trip. Every grade level should take an end of year trip. You will have to raise money. You will have to get sponsors.
Am I still on?
Yes, you're still on. Whatever needs to be done, you should expose them to whatever they want to do. I think a lot of schools, especially in the poor schools, they try to discourage the kids in Texas from taking a senior trip to New York. Oh, that's gonna cost too much. You don't know what these parents can afford. But we have to expose them. I used to do it with my little league program. I had a bunch of little gang members that played for me. So, I'm like, I'd be tripping on them. And I'm like, oh, so you're in a gang, huh? They're like, yeah. So they'll come back the next day and say, I got us a game out of town. Where is it, coach? South Central Los Angeles. I want to expose you. I want to show you what the other side of the world is. They have to be exposed. I never knew that living could be so good until I took my first trip to LA. Once I went to LA, I came back with a different mind frame. So yeah, I think we can do this. I know for a fact that as early as middle school, especially in the affluent communities, those children take into school trips. We have to start doing the same thing with our children.
So again, you guys, this is our monthly fundraiser. Please hit that Cash App.
Can
You
I
can get
just
that
say
money up.
something?
Yes, Miss Brown, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
My daughter left Fort Bend ISD for 2 years, and she went to Harmony School of Science. And those people went out of the country as fifth graders. Well, she was in fifth then, but they went out of the country for field trips. And I mean, they got just all kinds of exposure. I can tell you things on the private level, on the charter level, in the public school system, and it's different. And so you cannot discount our kids because they're ready. Oh, and
I
you
just
mentioned those. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead. This is your program. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going back to when you said those different programs. When I was in school and you was telling your age, we had metal shop and wood shop at our high school. And of course I took them. I didn't take it serious. I went in there and most of the time they were coaches that taught those classes. And they allowed me to go in and just take the role every day. I might have made a board or something like that. But a lot of people come out and they actually are doing those types of jobs. So I think it's a good thing.
Again, I just happen to notice that other groups of people who are more affluent, they're always taking their kids some different places, and the way that they look upon the world is totally different to where if you just stay in your comfort zone, you don't know. And I was born in I call it Louisiana, but every time I go down there, it just seems like nothing changes. And they're asking me questions on stuff that they've seen in TV, like, is it really like that in Australia? And my answer to them is always, why don't you go and find out? They're always asking me, why are you always traveling all these different places? There's a whole world out there, and you can kind of tell the difference. But I know it's kind of hard to get our kids out of their comfort zone when they've never been taught to, other than stay where they're at, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think that's something that's missing in our schools, and it puts us at a disadvantage because now we are afraid to go outside of those walls. But speaking of which, what is you guys? I think one of the biggest things, Miss Brown, that really is affecting us as people is financial literacy on every level of education. As you know, Black people are the biggest consumers, but we own fundamentally nothing. What is your take on that? How can we get economics back into like home economics? I'm not talking about, government macro and that stuff. I'm talking about, the basic home economics of balancing your checkbook, balancing your budget, living within your means, that stuff that we had when we were in school.
Yes, we did have that. I took a class. I'm not sure if it was mandatory, but I did learn a lot. I was in high school, and I want to say that class helped me. I was in the 11th grade, and I was working at a shoe store where I was able to balance the cash register, do payroll, do commission, all of that stuff. As an 11th grade, I didn't realize, it's just something that I learned, and I ended up being good at almost managing the store. But it's funny that you asked that question because I was just online with some alumni from Marshall High School just last week, and they have a business about financial literacy. And one of the things that they were talking about bringing into the early literacy program 2 years ago when we talked about it was they were going to start that financial education at the elementary level, starting at the pre-K. I guess making it in a fun way where kids are learning, but they don't really know because they're doing some things that are fun to them and they're learning financial literacy. I think it should be implemented as early as possible. Uh, and that's just my take on it. It's so important. And a lot of people are now talking about it in high school. And I asked the guys that were doing it, and they're actually successful at this, and they're taking it very serious, and I'm so proud of them. Is that something that they can come back and give back to their high school where they went, even the middle, and as far as the elementary. How can you implement this, and how early can you come and kind of share this, not just with the students, but some of our parents, that could even reinforce that once they get their kids at home, to teach them that sort of thing. So I think it's important, to answer your question. Yes.
Yeah. Gerry, what do you think about financial literacy classes and teaching our kids how to invest and, all the good stuff that the other groups are learning?
It should be mandatory. Financial literacy, not being financially literate, is one of the things that holds that community back. We need to teach them financial literacy. That's all it boils down to. They need a checkbook. They should have a bank account when they're 14, 15 years old. They should accept responsibility for themselves. So the only way that we're going to be able to do this is to try to, get something in the curriculum, or that would be a great after school program where you could teach them financial literacy. But I think that it needs to be mandatory.
Another question we have here that just popped up. HBCUs are great educational tools, and everybody talks how great HBCUs are. But yet, if you look at the average high schools that are predominantly Black across the nation, there is no direct HBCU pipeline to that. What would you do to make the HBCUs and the basic high school pipeline work a little better in regards to going from one level to the next level?
Is that for me?
No, that's to Gerry.
Is that for me?
Yeah, that's to Gerry.
Okay.
Repeat the question for me.
We have all these great HBCU colleges out there, and yet with all these HBCU colleges and graduates, we don't see any Black businesses. We don't see any Black corporations. All we see is all these great HBCU graduates working for the white corporations. So you got a lot of students at the high school level and even younger, and the school districts have no connection to the HBCUs. So, and I know HBCUs are private in some situations. What can we do to make a pipeline to where we can educate our own children to have a direct pipeline to get a better education through the HBCUs?
Well, first of all, the HBCUs need to get off their behinds and come to the schools. These kids. Now, I want you to understand, I went to Yates High School, so I'm stuck in between the University of Houston and Texas Southern University. Neither one of these schools recruited none of us. You see what I'm saying? So they got to get off their behinds and go to these schools and recruit these kids the same way they recruit for band. They need to just go recruit students. That's what they need to do. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have a problem with all these HBCU graduates. More they go to work for a white corporation. I have a problem with that. The reason we don't have a Black Wall Street is because they itching too fast to go to work. HBCU and start your own business. So they have to do a better job of recruiting because a lot of these HBCUs don't.
Ms. Brown, same question with you. I mean, I have a son that went to an HBCU. He ain't reaching back. He's working for a white corporation or a white institution. Got a niece that went to Spelman. She's not working, they don't, in my opinion, just like Monroe, I believe it's a great institution. They teach all this Blackness, but then the graduates don't reach back and they can't show you any tangible. So what can you do as a district person to link HBCUs and the students on that level that want to attend that or go to that? Because just like Monroe just said, you don't see HBCUs recruiting students in predominantly Black school districts.
Okay. Now I have to say that at Marshall, twice a year, they have a college fair with just HBCUs, and they all come on the campus. they're giving scholarships, and they're trying to recruit the students. Now, a lot of students believe that other schools are better. Just based on in Texas, they everybody's talking about Texas A&M and UT and schools like that. But I have to say that we do have college fairs that are all HBCUs. My son, he graduated and he was supposed to go to OU. At the last minute, he decided, I want to go to Morehouse. And that's where he went. I have talked to my son, and if there were three of them that year from Marshall that actually went to Morehouse together. And I told them, you guys need to come back. Some of that stuff that you learned at Morehouse, you need to implement that or ask to implement that at your schools. Because every Wednesday they had a forum where they had to uh, uh, go to a meeting. It was part of their curriculum. Somebody came and spoke to them, a very uh, professional or someone that had made it in the Black community. They came back, Spike Lee and different people came back and talked to them every Wednesday, somebody different. And just as a student, going off to Morehouse and doing some things now in your life, come back. And I think that we could start some things in these Black schools where those students could even maybe be part of the curriculum of teaching some history, because those HBUs are really teaching history, Black history. And so I think that we should be giving back, even if they are working somewhere else. There is something that each student that has that experience. I didn't go to a HBCU, but well, from what I've heard, that's an experience that you just cannot explain. My daughter, she had an opportunity to go to South Carolina, and I forced her to go somewhere else. She wanted to go there. And so, sometimes you have because now I look at my son's experience and I don't take anything. She got a full ride. She got her degree in speech pathology assistant. She getting ready to go to grad school, and she didn't have to pay for a pencil. But I think that we can reach each one can reach one. That's what I feel, that if you got out there and you got a good education, come back and give it to someone else. And I don't know about the rest of the schools in the district, but I can speak and say that Thurgood Marshall does have HBCUs that come on our campus and they try to reach out to the students. And you know what? When I think about it, it may be attached. It may be attached to the district some kind of way. I'm not sure.
Okay, great. And just to do this follow-up question in regards to what you as want to do as a candidate, what's going to be your legacy that you would like to leave
Hey,
everybody to remember? Like, this is what Miss Brown accomplished while she was here in the 2, 3, 5 years you're going to be there. What are you going to say? This is what I want to do. That's going to have my name written on it.
Well, I've already got my name written on some stuff that the district is doing right now. Block scheduling is one of them. And I'm going to claim that on the Monroe show, because that was not something that they were talking about. They're getting ready to implement that at 3 schools. They're going to talk about implementing it district wide. Schools were doing it a while back. The only 2 schools I think was Marshall and Hightower. Marshall did it successfully. We brought it back to the table, and now they're looking at doing it again. And they did it during the COVID. One thing I want to bring back is transparency, honesty, and trust, that when the district says they're going to do something, they're actually going to do it. If there are schools, and I know this is a lot, but we got some problems in FIS before being ISD. These students that are in our district should feel like they can reach for the sky. And if they fall a little short, they will land on the start. Each one of these students should feel like whatever they're talking about, the profile of a graduate, it needs to be just more than just in writing. So I would like to, first of all, bring some unity back into the community of Fort Bend ISD, because everybody is fighting each other. They're fighting each other to not be rezoned, so they're putting another school down so they can not have to go there. I understand it. I empathize with it, but the district has us fighting each other to tear each other down. So the one thing I want to make sure that I implement is that everybody having a voice, everybody feeling valued, the community coming together and becoming one Fort Bend ISD and not two. And I want to be able to really bring all of the schools back, or not back, up to Met standard and beyond. They're saying it now, but we're not. So if I had to just choose one out of all of that, I want to make sure that all of the underserved schools, as they claim, are getting the same resources, the same attention, the same everything that any other school is getting. I want to make sure those kids that are GT students are being challenged to go above and beyond and not just being given extra work to do, but they're actually being challenged. So education, the teachers are being given the money that they need in order to stay in our district. And I just want us to be transparent. We're looking for a superintendent right now. So that's going to be our number one goal, to get a superintendent that everybody can trust.
Sounds great. Dr. Monroe, I'm going to ask you this real quick, or Mr. Monroe Esquire, not doctor. You're trying to be an Esquire there, be a Mr. Lawyer. And you're going to be a damn good one too. A lot of our students, because of the COVID, they used to get their breakfasts at the schools. We know everything comes down to budgetary, monetary situation. What can we do? What would you do to better the school lunch programs and all that other stuff? Because for a lot of students around the nation, that is probably one of the only times they actually do get to eat. And I don't know if that's a problem in Houston itself, but in regards, we do know that the program does exist down there. So any ideas on how to improve the school lunch programs and the breakfast programs?
The school lunch program, they need to start cooking their own food again. One, it'll save money. It definitely will save money. I was a cook on a drilling rig for 12 years, so I had to deal with budgets, and it's cheaper to cook your own food. First of all, the quality of the food is garbage. It's straight up slop. I wouldn't feed it to a dog, let alone feed it to a child. So we have to fix that first. I just think that, I would tell anybody that when I went to school, man, I never missed breakfast or lunch at school. The food was that good. It's the quality of the food, man. We're wasting a lot of money on food that these kids don't want. They tried to make it healthy. Everything needs to be healthy. Man, someday kids just want a wild life. Can they just eat a hot dog or a hamburger? Remember, we're dealing with kids, man. So, I mean, we got to stop trying to fix everything that ain't broke. And food service in the school districts, they have broken it. It wasn't anything wrong with it. So I think we need to go back to what we were doing, what was successful with food service.
Follow-up question, Monroe Esquire. As far as we know, the demographics of the United States is changing, and it's changing drastically. And pretty soon, you are going to be dealing with a bunch of parents that do not have the same culture that you come from. As a trustee, how are you going to relate to these parents when you don't have the same experience as these parents? Can you hear me? Did he freeze up? Can you hear me? Okay, he froze up. Let's see if he comes back real quick. But that's a good question there in regards to, let's see if he comes back. Because, the demographics in the United States are changing, Ms. Brown. And so you're going to be dealing with people with a different culture. Here he comes. So there you go. There you go. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. What was the question?
Okay. Yeah, as a trustee, the demographics in the United States are changing very, very drastically. How are you going to relate to a parent when you don't even come from the same culture as they come from, and in dealing with that? So you have an upset parent in regards to a discipline problem. How would you handle that?
Well, first of all, I've been a parent of school kids forever, man. I know what they're going through. I know exactly what's happening with these parents. And the thing is one, I can't deal with disciplinary issues as a trustee. That's beyond my job scope. So, that doesn't fall in my job scope. But what I can do is I can, send them to the administration, make the administration aware that we have a parent that has an issue and we need to address it.
To the point. Miss Brown, same thing. You're dealing with a lot of parents now that don't have the same experiences as you do or as I do coming from the Black community. How would you address a parent in regards to any problems that may come up, even if it's language in itself? They're trying to talk to you, but they're talking in a different language. You specifically, how would you deal with a parent that isn't culturally understanding what you're trying to tell them, or vice versa?
Thank you. In our community, we do have Spanish-speaking parents that don't know the English language, and so we have interpreters right there on campus to be able to relate to them. And if they came to me directly, as Monroe said, that's out of our scope, but I would direct them to the administration and make sure that they felt comfortable with someone that could relay their message effectively for them in their language, and be able to tell them how to solve their problem.
Right. And a follow-up, Ms. Brown, real quick. I'm an adult. I dropped out of high school. And when I mean adult, I'm over 18. I just dropped out of high school. A lot of the GED programs have been taken, away, or whatever situation is. And I want to go back and get my adult education and continue on. What can you do to make sure that if a child does decide to drop out of high school, that they could, what kind of programs are you aware of, or that you might want to implement to encourage them, number one, to stay in school, much less if they do have to drop out, that they can come back, other than age requirements?
Other than the age requirements, there are places out there that are offering free GED courses. My church, for one, I don't care how old you are, they are an community outreach. I would start with those types of programs that are free, that offer those types of services. If I didn't know, we work together as a district, as a board, to find those resources and those programs for those students or adults. Past that, we're in the business of helping people. We should be. And if they were a student in Fort Bend ISD and they fell on the side of the way, if they needed some guidance, I think we should still be there for them to guide them in the right direction.
Right. And another question for you as a trustee, what is your stance on dress code?
Dress code. Okay, let me just say this. I was in a meeting with the campus-based leadership team, and dress code became part of our discussion. And they wanted to implement uniforms just in the Black schools in our community. I was totally against that, because what that showed me, at first they said it was district-wide. Then I found out it was just for those 3 particular schools. I don't care where you are. If you singling out students, I don't care what color you are, it's going to make them feel some type of way. And I said, when I found out that it was not district-wide, you cannot do that. Now, if it's district-wide and everybody's going to the football game or the debate, everybody has on the same clothes, and they're in blue and khaki pants, that's fine. But you cannot take 3 schools and tell them to wear a uniform and the rest of the district is not. So dress code, there is a dress code that's in the booklet that everybody reads, and parents need to read that and make sure that their children are following in line with that. But dress code, children should be able to make a choice, and their parents should send them to school in the right attire.
Awesome. Yeah, he's moving around. But guys, don't forget to hit that Cash App button. This is our monthly fundraiser. Anything that you guys can submit would help. Do what I do. I submit amount every week. By the time this election is about to happen, that's a significant amount of money that I can purchase. And some of you guys just got your stimulus. I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money, but I am telling you, I'm getting tired of you guys complaining about your kids not having good superintendents, good people to look out for them. when all you have to do is vote the right people in that are going to look out for our children. And these are two candidates that can do that. Mr. Monroe, same question in regards to dress code, but I'm going to tell you this. And there was an incident with dress codes in regards to the parents. What's your stance on that?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the students, you see more dress codes at African American and Latino schools. You don't see that at white schools. You know, Lamar, they can wear whatever they want. They got free dress. I think that needs to change, and kids should be able to wear whatever they want to wear. When they go to college, they can wear whatever they want to wear. As long as it's not, inappropriate, I don't have a problem with the dress code going away. As far as parents, you don't put a dress code on parents. It's hard to get a parent to even come to the school. You know what I'm saying? So if they want to wear their bonnet because their hair not right, I'm cool with that. Long as they coming up there to be proactive, I don't have no problem with that, man.
Follow up with that a GED program or something like that, because a lot of students graduate or they drop out, and then they realize, because they don't have that high school nomenclature behind them, that it kind of differentiates them about getting jobs and stuff. So what kind of GED programs would you implement if you could do that? Or at least, like Ms. Brown said, keep the school interested in that student that may have dropped out and then changed their mind and came back a year or two later to finish?
I got relationships with a lot of organizations that provide GEDs to people that don't have them. And I would reach into my partnerships and connect my partnerships with the schools so that parents that would want a GED or a kid that has dropped out go back and get that piece of paper, because that piece of paper can put you on the path to be able to do something greater. Think about it. I couldn't go back to college if I didn't graduate. And at the end of the day, it's not that hard to accomplish the goal. We just need to make sure we got time to do what we need to do. But I would create partnerships, man. I got relationships with organizations, and that's an easy fix for me right there, brother.
Another follow-up question, Mr. Monroe. The military, some people, again, college might not be for them right then and there. Military has a lot of money. A lot of people don't want to go in debt going to college. As a trustee, what is your stance in regards to military recruitment? And, basically looking that as a career pattern for some students? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. There you go.
I think that that's a great thing. That recruiters need to be on the campus as much as they need to be on it. When we're talking about getting kids out of the neighborhood and exposing them to, other facets of life, the military can do just that. But while they're in school, okay, let me show you how you can get to this money. Why don't you go take ROTC? So that way, when you go to the military, you go in 2 pay grades higher. You see what I'm saying? So all you got to do is talk money to them. If you talk money to them, they'll get it. But yeah, I support that. Military on the campus. Come on, get these youngsters, man. Let's get them doing something proactive.
Ms. Brown, what is your take in regards to the military as a career path, and possibly a lot of kids don't want to end up taking all these loans and getting debt. But again, the military is not for everybody. I'm a military veteran. I retired from the military. It was great for me, but it's not for everybody. But yet, some people do need that type of option.
I think it's a great option for those students that want to take that pathway, and I think it's very important for them to be visible. Some kids may not be able to make it to the recruiting office. So anything that's accessible to them right there on the campus, I think that needs to be there. My daughter and my son took ROTC. I would not have been opposed to them if that was their choice. I have nephews and a niece that decided, they were great students, but they wanted to go straight to the military, and they're doing well. I think it's a great option if that's your choice. And to the answer to your question, I'd be 100% supportive of that, and it needs to be visible on the campus. The ROTC teaches discipline. in a way that no other class does. And I've seen that. Whether they decide they want to take the military path after that or not, it is a good thing for those kids that want to have that experience.
Well, let's get a little personal real quick. And again, you guys hit that Cash App. This is a fundraiser for Gerry Monroe. It's our monthly fundraiser. You don't have to just wait for today. If you don't have your Cash App card or your Venmo card with you, you can do it a little bit later on. But make sure you guys stop and support our candidates. And these are two great candidates for the simple fact of they are out there doing the work. Miss Brown's activism for our children, the work is already there. Like she said, she's already been written into the books. Gerry Monroe, legendary advocate for our students. It's already written in the books. My question to you guys out there listening, why is it that people like this that actually do the work do not get elected and yet our kids suffer? I want you guys to think about that for 1 second. Think about that. The people that are actually doing the work, they cannot do it if they're not in a position to make changes. So we have to get them there. So let's continue to do that. On a personal note, Ms. Brown, this is what we want to ask you. Tell us something about you that, we don't know. How long have you been married? The kids, your grandma. Do you like soccer? Are you a Houston fan? Just give us a little bit about you outside of politics, because when I vote for somebody, I got to make sure they kind of relate and like some of the same stuff that I like. And it's unfortunate, but that's human nature.
And that's great. That's a great question. I think I'm pretty well-rounded, and I think I can sit down at the table and hold a conversation about sports and all kind of stuff. So I've been married for 33 years. I dated my husband 8 years before I got married, so that's all my life. I have been working at MD Anderson for 21 years. I could retire if I wanted to. I have 3 kids. The oldest one is 33, 29, and 22. 2 boys. The oldest, the girl, is the baby. I said my son went to Morehouse. My other son is an engineer. And my daughter is getting ready to get her, she has her license to be a speech pathology assistant, and she's getting ready to be a speech pathologist after she goes to grad school in August. So I have not just preached it, I've done it with my own kids. And they were all 3 types of learners. One, I didn't have to sit at the table and beat. And I don't want to say beat because y'all might come get me. The second one, I had to do a little bit more coursing, And the third one, I took her out of public school, put her in charter school for 2 years, brought her back, got her back on track. But I sat at the table, put timers on them when there was some things that I felt like they needed that extra help. I paid for tutors. I paid for whatever they needed because I thought to myself, either you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And so I did that. I'm a sports fan. I have bought my husband season tickets to the Rockets game because I wanted to go too. I love football. I'm a fan of the Texans. I go out there and I volunteer and I work at almost every Texans game to bring money home to the students in our community. I worked the rodeo 21 days straight to raise money for our kids in the community. What else can I say? I like to bowl. Volleyball, I'll still go out there and try to play. I might be sore for 2 days, but I still do it. I played kickball on my alumni team 2 years ago for the Sterling Raiders. Woo woo! Houston Sterling Raiders. So I'm a big kid, y'all. I like movies. I quote Friday frequently with my kids. I'm a sidebar comedian. I love to laugh and have fun. I like to dance. I'm just all over the place, and everybody don't get to know all the sides of me. I give you about, I give you a little bit and let you see if you're worth knowing all of those things about me.
There you go.
I like to have fun, and I'm a big advocate of the kids all over. So I think I just gave you everything.
Absolutely. Like I said, I like what I heard because, like I said, I can relate to that. The legendary Dr. Monroe. Tell us a little bit about you. We already know your reputation supersedes you. Tell us a little bit on a personal level. about, a little bit about you. You're a Texas fan. We know you're a legendary artist and a lyricist, but just tell us about that for some people that might not know a little bit about your personal side versus your activism.
Well, I've been a recording artist for like 36 years, man, and it's been a ride, man. I don't have an issue with it at all. Not having a platinum plaque. I learned the game. I learned how to make money. So with that being said, I mean, there's not very much to me. I'm a revolutionary, man. I want betterment for my people, and no matter where I have to go to get it, that's what I'm gonna do. I go all over the country to help people. Doesn't matter to me. I like exposing frauds. I like exposing political frauds. I like exposing um, people who say that they're working hard for their peoples, but they just flat out lying. So not a lot to me, man. I'm an easygoing guy. I love to laugh. I like to play golf. I love to bowl. Um, and that people like you play golf. Yeah, I mean, I play golf. So it is what it is. But it's not a lot to me, man. What you see is what you get 99% of the time.
A quick question in regard to we're on our second hour right now, so we're going to get ready to do what we do. Wrap it up a little bit, but in regards to these political parties, and I know you guys' election is nonpartisan, how much support is either party possibly helping you guys in regards to running your elections and getting the nice photo op and all that other stuff? Is there any help going on with you, Dr. Monroe, in regards to your campaign?
I'm getting blessings from both sides of the aisles, man. Good Democrats, good Republicans, just good people, good Christians, good Americans that want to see somebody in the school system, that's doing what they need to do. I'm getting it from all over, black, white, Latino. They've seen the work. So it's not, how can we hold Gerry Monroe accountable? They already know, man, we ain't got to worry about this dude because he gonna get now and he going to war, he going to work. So yeah, I'm getting help from both sides of the aisle, and I'm not gonna turn it down.
Yeah, no, well, and my point by bringing that up is when it comes to education of our children, it it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's getting the support for the right candidates to get where they're supposed to go. So Miss Brown, same question to you in regards to support from the different parties, the NAACP. I mean, we want to know who's behind you a little bit.
Well, I think, as I've stated, I'm not a politician. I've always been behind the scenes. I don't have a lot of political support. My party, or I won't say my party, but parties had already decided who they wanted in this race. Um, I'm running as an independent because it's not a partisan race. It's for the kids. And I think when we mix all of that in there, and Monroe is like, okay, whoever wants to support me, they know my work. Uh, I cannot, when it comes to something like that, and I look at it like this: if people know what you've done, and I've got a history, and I've had politicians to tell me, I know your work, I know what you do, I know you for the kids, but yet, you're not showing me that you're behind my vision or what I'm trying to do. I'm gonna do it anyway. So when I say that I'm a one show, I'm not dependent on a party. That's me. I took my money and I'm running my race, and I'm not dependent on anybody else. There's some good people out there that have supported me, and they didn't write Democratic or Republican on their check. Whatever they gave me, I appreciated it. But to ask me from one party to the next, I'm not looking at it like that. I'm an independent in this race. I'm running for Stephanie Brown to do better for these kids. And that's all it is to it. If somebody wants to help me, I'll gladly take it. but I can't tell you that when I put my name on the dotted line that I'm signing for any particular party, because that's not the case.
Amen. I like that answer. All right. So, in closing, you guys, again, please support these candidates. You can vote right now in Miss Stephanie Brown's election right now. You don't have to wait until your vote gets suppressed. You can do it right now. And that's going to really help out in her campaign as she jumps ahead of all of the candidates over there. Um, in closing, Miss Brown, would you like to
But
say?
can I say something, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Can I say something, please? uh in our forums and things like that, I want to proudly say that the Tejano Democratic Party endorsed me. I have never, like I say, I have not been in politics or anything, and so I was just so excited that whatever I said or whatever my platform was, they believed in it and they publicly endorsed me. I could tell you I was screaming because I was shocked and I was surprised. But like I said, I'm here for all of the kids, all of the people. And I think they saw something in me that said she's going to get out there and fight for everybody.
Amen. Exactly. When it comes to the kids, we got to get away from this partisan politics and all that other. It's about what's best for our children moving forward. Because let's face it, our parents in our generation, we've screwed it up. We've screwed it up with all the racism and all the other stuff and taking vocation out of schools. I mean, we've screwed up. I mean, our parents, and so on and so forth. We need candidates that say, okay, we've made these mistakes. Let's make it better. We know where the mistakes are. Let's make it better. So in closing, Ms. Brown, give us your closing pitch.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm running for Fort Bend ISD trustee, position number 6. I'm number 1 on the ballot. Once you get to number 1, consider yourself done. I want to tell you that I'm there. My motto is it's all about the kids. And when I say that with passion and I say that with truth. I want to make sure that we bring some visibility, some vision, some transparency, and some trust back into the district. It doesn't matter how big your house is. It doesn't matter whether you live on the west side or the east side, or whether you wear 100 shirts to the board meeting or you just there by yourself. I want to make sure that you have a voice and not that you have a seat at the table, but that you bring your table to us and let us sit down with you and tell us what it is that you need for your community and for your school. I can't tell you that. You are the only one who have lived in your community and you know what you need. I want to bring back the unity in the Fort Bend ISD community and stop the infighting. And we have to focus on what's wrong. There are problems in this district. And we need to do what we need to fix it. And all the talk about we need to move forward with the positivity and the growth that we have now. Look at what was happening before COVID. You guys was not happy. I want to help fix that. We know that our schools are not all met. We have not all met. We know that these programs that we are needing today in these schools, we have to work together to make it happen. And we cannot keep camouflaging the issues. So once I get there, I can't promise you the world, but I can promise you this. I won't lie and I won't camouflage the truth. We're going to work together as a unit and make things happen. We may not like everything that happens. We may not like everything that we come up with, but I tell you one thing, we're going to do it together, not as an individual, not because we paid under the table by politicians, not because we sat in the back room and we made a deal for our 501c3. We're going to make sure we're doing it on the behalf of these kids that matter. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
I like it. I like it. I like it. 5-star. This is on you. Go ahead and close us out here. Tell us what we need to hear.
I told you 4 years ago what would happen to your school system if you didn't vote me in. Everything I told you happened exactly the way I said it. Now you have a means to fix the situation. Am I perfect? No. I'm a parent. I'm pissed off. And it's time for us to put somebody in the school board that has the passion that these children need. It's time for us to clearly understand that the dynamics that they said would work where you needed an educator on the school board. That didn't work. Where they said you needed people with 3 or 4 degrees. That wouldn't work. What you need is somebody who came from the community, who clearly has gone through it. You feel what I'm saying? As a student and as a parent, and they want to make it better for these kids. I will tell you this. Some days I feel like Michael Jordan, because if I died tomorrow, y'all could erect a statue of me for the work that I've done. You cannot come to me and tell me I gotta hold you accountable, because baby, I already did the work. I done did more for kids in the last 9 years than all them trustees sitting up there combined. Now, at the end of the day, you either want to fix your problem or you want to keep playing and keep things the same way. I need you to come to the polls. I need you to take it very, very seriously, because if you do not get a male presence on the Houston Independent School Board, if you do not put Gerry Monroe where he rightly deserves to sit, they are going to attack your education. And this time, they're going to close a bunch of your schools. You got to have a soldier up there that can fight. You got to have somebody up there that ain't bought and paid for, like Steph said. I ain't cutting no side deals. If it ain't for the best interest for the kids, I'm not trying to hit. That's me. Point blank. The candidate that gives a damn.
I like it. I like it. And I'd have to say this: you're the 5 stars homegrown. It's a person that actually experienced the school district, maybe through its highs, maybe it's through its lows. But here's a homegrown candidate that understands the issues within it. Miss Brown, another sterling. I mean, you guys come from these farm schools that are legendary. So you guys have been there and you've done the work. And I would strongly and hope and recommend that they do the right thing, because I don't know if you guys have heard his name. He's a great African Enlightenment leader. His name was Steve Biko. And he said, Black man, you are on your own. And I know this is not just a Black issue, but when it comes to education, we are on our own as parents into who is going to educate our children. And if we don't get the right people in there, our children are done. The schools are going to close because they do not give a damn. So please vote Miss Brown and the 5 stars coming up with his election, and just do your research on these candidates. If I can vote there, Miss Brown, you definitely would have my vote. Please come back and let us know how you're doing, in the election as everything goes by, because I honestly believe you're one of those people, win, lose, or draw, you're still going to do the work.
All right, my friend, that'll do it, y'all. Till next month.